Chapter 6. The Curse That Walked Forward. Ruth does not enter the story in crisis. She enters it in aftermath. By the time Ruth appears, famine has already done its work. Death has already visited. A family has already crossed borders and lost sons. What remains is quiet devastation, the kind that does not demand attention, but reshapes everything it touches. Ruth is a Moabite. That single detail carries extraordinary weight, a name marked by exclusion. Moab is not a neutral place in Israel's memory. It is associated with hostility, seduction, and opposition. The law itself speaks harshly about Moabite inclusion, drawing boundaries that stretch to the 10th generation. Ruth stands beneath that shadow. She is not merely a foreigner. She belongs to a people explicitly remembered for being outside, and yet her story is told not as a problem to be solved, but as a gift to be received. Loyalty that costs everything. Ruth's defining moment is not dramatic. It is resolute. When Naomi urges her to return home to reclaim safety, family, and familiarity, Ruth refuses. There is no vision, no promise of reward, no assurance of provision. There is only loss in one direction and uncertain faithfulness in the other. Ruth chooses faithfulness. Where you go, I will go. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. This is not poetic sentiment, it is self-displacement. Ruth relinquishes identity, security, and future prospects in order to bind herself to a widowed woman and a God she has only come to know through suffering. Faith here is not belief in rescue. It is commitment without guarantees. Why Ruth is not an exception. Ruth's inclusion is often softened by romance and resolution. But Scripture does not hurry past the risk she takes. She arrives in Bethlehem, poor, foreign, and dependent. She gleans behind harvesters, exposed to danger, reliant on kindness she cannot command. Her survival depends on laws she does not control and mercy she cannot presume. And yet, Scripture repeatedly emphasizes Ruth's character, not her usefulness, not her fertility, not her outcome, her faithfulness, perceived reward. This is crucial. Ruth is not welcomed because she becomes valuable. She becomes fruitful because she is faithful. The curse that does not hold grace. Ruth's Moabite identity is never erased. She is called Ruth the Moabite again and again, even after she is accepted, even after she is married, even after she bears a son. Scripture refuses to let us forget where she comes from. Why? Because grace does not operate by pretending the law never spoke. It moves through what the law exposed and carries it forward into redemption. Ruth does not argue with the curse. She walks forward anyway. And God meets her there. A king born from loyalty. Ruth's faithfulness leads not to immediate triumph, but to quiet provision. A field, a redeemer, a place to stand. From that place comes a son. From that son comes a family. From that family comes David. Israel's greatest king descends not from conquest or pedigree alone, but from the steady, costly loyalty of a foreign widow who refused to turn back. This matters. is when Jesus is later called Son of David, that title carries Ruth's story with it, a reminder that kingship in God's economy grows from humility, not dominance. Grace that waits. Ruth's story unfolds slowly. There are no miracles, no visions, no divine interruptions, only faithful steps taken day after day. Grace here is not dramatic. It is patient. It waits and feels. It speaks through ordinary kindness. It builds toward redemption without announcing itself. This prepares us for a Messiah who will later spend decades in obscurity, growing quietly before stepping into public light.
Why Ruth had to be included. Ruth's presence in the genealogy of Jesus is not sentimental. It confronts the reader with a truth many would rather avoid. God's promises do not move forward only through those who belong by birthright. They move forward through those who choose faithfulness at great cost. Ruth is not included because she becomes Israelite enough. She is included because she trusts Israel's God fully. Belonging follows faith, not the other way around. The bloodline continues through the excluded. With Ruth, the bloodline passes through a people once named as outsiders and moves directly toward Israel's throne. This is not rebellion against the law. It is fulfillment beyond it. Grace does not deny boundaries, it transcends them by faith. Ruth does not demand inclusion, she lives it. Looking ahead, Tamar confronted injustice. Rahab chose allegiance. Ruth walked forward under a curse. The next woman will not be an outsider by ethnicity, but by circumstance. Bathsheba will enter the story through abuse of power, silence, and grief. And her name will be remembered, not for what she did, but for what was done to her. And through her, a bloodline will pass through a king's greatest failure and continue. Because God refuses to erase the truth, even when it is painful.